My name is Don K. Preston. I am the president of Preterist Research Institute of Ardmore, Oklahoma. Now, we're looking at the comparison between Romans 5 to 8 and 1 Corinthians chapter 15 and the resurrection. Remember, in 1 Corinthians 15 and 2 Corinthians 5, Paul said the Holy Spirit, the miraculous measure of the Holy Spirit, had been given to guarantee the resurrection. In Romans 8, the Holy Spirit had been given to bring about sonship. Now then, there's another element of Romans chapter 8. We're going to shift gears here just a little bit, but it's absolutely directly related to our discussion of the resurrection. In 1 Corinthians chapter 15, 31 and following, Paul referenced the suffering that he endured for Christ to preach the message of resurrection. And 2 Corinthians chapter 4, 16 and following, our light affliction, Greek word thalipsis, which is only for a moment, works in us in a far more exceeding and eternal weight of glory. We do not look at the things that are seen. We look at the things that are not seen. The things that are seen are temporal, temporary. The things that are not seen are eternal. For in this we groan, longing for the new tabernacle, resurrection tabernacle. So, Paul links the suffering that he was enduring with the coming resurrection. What it is absolutely critical to see is that the suffering that Paul was talking about were the very distinctive last days eschatological sufferings. Now notice what he does in Romans 8. He says that if we are children, we are heirs, heirs of God, joint heirs with Christ. Now watch this. If indeed we suffer with him, that we may also be glorified in him, or with him, glorified together, Paul links their then current state of adoption, okay? The adoption had not been completed. They had been given the miraculous gifts of the Holy Spirit to guarantee that coming adoption. Romans 8:23. They were looking for the adoption, the redemption of the body. So they had been given the miraculous gifts of the Holy Spirit to guarantee the adoption. And in that period of time, during that period of the miraculous work of the Holy Spirit, he said, if indeed, we're sons, we're heirs, if indeed we suffer with him. Now, it's critical to understand the language here. When Paul said, if we suffer with him, he uses the prefix soon with pasco, Greek word pasco. So it's a compound word, to gather suffer. The Greek word pasco, folks, this is critical. Just like the other words that Paul's going to refer to in the discussion of the suffering of this present time that he talks about, I want you to understand that contrary to the normal application of the sufferings of Christ, being cancer, heart problems, financial difficulties, or what have you, that is absolutely not what Paul had in mind. Paul had in mind suffering with Christ to fill up the measure of suffering on the part of the last days generation of saints, to bring about the filling up of the measure of sin on the part of the persecutors, so that the cup of God's wrath in the day of judgment would be poured out, to destroy the persecutors, and to vindicate, to glorify, to identify the sons of God, to manifest the sons of God. As Paul says right here, the creation is eagerly awaiting the manifestation of the sons of God. And so what we are going to be doing is examining this concept of the sufferings of Christ, because it is absolutely, inextricably, and irrefutably bound up with the doctrine of the resurrection. Suffering to be glorified. Well, what was the glorified? The glorification, Paul said, I reckon that the suffering of this present time is not worthy to be compared with the glory that is about to be revealed. Paul said, 2 Thessalonians chapter 1, that the saints were being persecuted, but at the coming of the Lord, they would be vindicated in the day that He was coming to be glorified in His saints. You see, glorification and vindication and relief from suffering, the sufferings of Christ, are absolutely bound up with the day of the Lord and the resurrection. This is an incredible topic. So, we've got more as we begin to look at the relationship between the last day's suffering and martyrdom and resurrection. This is incredible stuff. So we'll see you on the flip side.